I used to believe I was a good wife. 15 years married, college sweethearts, two people building a life together brick by brick. Ryan was the stable one, the reliable one, the man everyone said was a dream to marry. And maybe that was the problem. Everything in our marriage became predictable. Every morning the same coffee, same have a good day, same evenings, same routine dinners, same routine affection, same routine silence afterward. After a while, routine feels less like comfort and more like a cage. I never meant for anything to happen. I didn't wake up one day and decide to be unfaithful. It started with something so stupid I almost laugh now. Compliments. Real ones. From someone new. Someone who looked at me like I was still worth noticing. His name was Greg. A contractor who did repairs at the brokerage I worked for. Mid-40s, confident, charming in a rough-around-the-edges way. He'd flirt playfully. Just a harmless ego boost, I told myself. Until it wasn't harmless anymore. The first time he touched me, just his hand brushing my lower back, it was like remembering a part of myself I had buried under bills and dinner plates and cold sheets. I told myself it was wrong. I told myself to stop. But the truth? I didn't want to. With him, I felt alive. Seen. Wanted. And every time I came home afterward, Ryan felt more distant. He'd sit at the dining table staring at his blueprints, barely noticing me. I convinced myself he didn't care. That gave me permission to cross lines I should have never approached. But Ryan wasn't clueless. I see that now. Back then, I thought I was so clever. Locking my phone. Leaving for late-night showings. Buying new dresses and pretending they were work-related. He'd ask small questions, gentle ones. You sure you're working this late? Hot yoga again? I'd lie. He'd smile like he believed me. And I'd leave, relieved I'd escape suspicion. If I had known what was really happening behind those calm eyes, I might have stopped. But I didn't know. And I didn't stop. The affair became addictive. Like every kiss was oxygen, and I'd been holding my breath for years. I spent hours at Greg's house, telling Ryan I was with clients or networking. I'd come home flushed and energized, telling myself Ryan wanted the version of me who looked happy. And that's what I was bringing home. But the distance between us grew cold enough to freeze. One afternoon stands out in sharp detail. Greg pulled me into his passenger seat, kissed me like the world could collapse any second. I laughed, carefree in a way Ryan hadn't seen in years. When I came home that night, Ryan sat there chewing dinner silently. I assumed he was tired. I didn't notice the way he stared at me like he was dissecting every word I said. I didn't notice anything. Then came the night I mistakenly dropped a receipt in my car's side pocket. A gas station, 3:30 a.m., 40 minutes from any of my listings. It didn't even register to me at the time. I didn't know Ryan had already found it. I didn't know he was awake while I slept, making promises to himself. I kept floating, convinced nothing would burst my bubble. One morning he suggested breakfast out. We hadn't done that in months. He smiled across the booth, gentle and warm. It made me feel guilty for half a second, then I shoved the thought away. Guilt was inconvenient. He asked about yoga again, and I said yes at 4. His nod felt normal. Nothing felt different. Now I know he was tracking me that day. I didn't see his car behind me when I drove straight past the gym. I didn't see him taking photos from 2 houses down. I didn't see anything but Greg's front door and the man opening it for me. Cheaters are always blindest when they think they're invincible. The days kept rolling. I thought my lies were flawless. I had no idea a private investigator was watching me, zoom lens, timestamps, video clips, the whole humiliating package. I didn't know Ryan had turned our marriage into a case file. All I saw was Greg. All I cared about was being wanted again. Then something subtle shifted in Ryan. He became almost kinder. Polite. So damn calm. He stopped asking questions. He kissed my cheek more. He smiled more. And I told myself, see? Things are getting better at home. But his smiles weren't warm. They were surgical. I didn't understand that I was living in the middle of a storm, silent, building power, waiting to tear my life apart brick by brick. The morning everything exploded began like any other. Perfume, lipstick, excuses. Networking lunch today, I said, and kissed his cheek. Don't wait up. His reply? Of course.
Good luck, sweetheart.
Sweetheart. I walked out thinking he cared. It was his warning bell. By noon, I was reviewing property files at the office, pretending to focus while texting Greg stupid emojis. My heels clicked on the tile toward the break room when the receptionist called out. Lauren, your husband's here. Confusion hit first. Ryan never visited me at work. Maybe he brought lunch? Maybe he wanted a midday surprise? I plastered on a smile and walked toward the lobby. He stood beside the counter, holding a thick envelope. My confusion twisted into dread. What are you doing here? I whispered. He didn't answer. He just placed the envelope in my hands. Some very important papers, he said. Time sensitive. My fingers trembled before I even looked inside. When I saw what it was, photos, receipts, printed lies of my own making, my throat closed. The room warped. My coworkers stared, whispered, eyes wide, hands covering mouths. My world shrank to the size of that envelope. Let's talk at home, I begged. Oh no, he said louder, so loud every desk in that polished office felt like a spotlight. Home is where you lie. Here is where we tell the truth. I couldn't breathe. The divorce papers cut deeper than anything he'd ever said. Not because he wanted to leave, but because I suddenly faced what I had done, not in secret, not in darkness, but in fluorescent daylight in front of everyone I worked with. Humiliation is a special kind of hell. My boss ushered me into his office, but my ears rang too loud to hear anything. I sat there shaking, staring at the evidence. My life, my lies, all of it displayed like a public execution. Hours later, I drove home on autopilot, mascara streaked, heart pounding so hard it hurt to breathe. When I opened the door, I saw suitcases. My suitcases. You packed my things? I managed to whisper. Ryan didn't even look angry, just tired.
Cold. No.
Santa came early. He said you've been very bad, so I helped him out. I wanted to scream.
Cry. Beg.
I wanted to run into his arms and pretend none of this was real. We should talk, I said, voice breaking. We can fix this. He didn't blink. My lawyer will be in touch. He's great at adult conversations. My hands shook as I wheeled my suitcases outside. Ryan stood in the doorway, arms folded, watching everything he'd built with me become mine to carry away. For the first time since the affair started, I felt terrified. Not of losing Ryan, but of realizing I had already lost him long ago and never bothered to notice. I sat in my car sobbing into my hands. How did I get here? How did I become someone I can't even recognize? When did a little attention turn into nuclear destruction? I told myself I cheated because Ryan stopped loving me. But the truth? I cheated because I stopped loving myself, and I blamed him for the emptiness I refused to face. The house behind me stayed dark and silent. Ryan didn't watch me leave. He just closed the door. Softly.
Too softly.
The kind of silence that says he's already erased me. I didn't know then that the worst of it was still ahead.
Court.
Consequences.
Karma.
Regret so heavy it crushes every breath. But that night, driving away from the life I shattered, I finally understood one thing. This wasn't Ryan's revenge. This was justice. And justice doesn't care whether you cry. The night I left our home, I didn't go to Greg's right away. I drove aimlessly through town, letting headlights blur through my tears. I kept checking my phone, half hoping Ryan would call, half dreading that he actually might. He didn't. Eventually, I ended up in a grocery store parking lot, my suitcases stacked in the back seat, my life reduced to zippered fabric. I sat there for almost an hour, crying, bargaining with fate, telling myself this nightmare would end if I just apologized enough. But I had crossed too many lines. Sorry doesn't rebuild a burned house. When the cold finally sank through my coat, I drove to Greg's. He opened the door shirtless, confused, then shocked, then annoyed.
He didn't hug me. He didn't comfort me.
What are you doing here? He hissed, glancing over his shoulder like I was some burden showing up uninvited, which I guess I was. My husband knows. I choked out. Everything. Greg swore under his breath, running a hand through his hair. What the hell, Lauren? I thought you said he was clueless. I thought he was, I whispered. I didn't know he was watching me. He paced, jaw clenched. My wife is in the bedroom. You can't be here. The sentence sliced deeper than anything Ryan had said. I thought Greg was my escape. Turns out I was just his entertainment, something fun until consequences knocked. He grabbed my arm and shoved me back outside into the freezing air. Go stay in a hotel, he snapped. I'll figure something out tomorrow. The door slammed in my face. Not even locked, just slammed. Like I could walk back in, but I wasn't welcome. I stood there shaking, gripping my suitcase handles like they were the only stable things in my life. For the first time, the fantasy shattered. Greg was never going to save me. He didn't love me. He barely cared. He only wanted the thrill, not the damage. The cold finally forced me into a cheap motel on the highway. I sat on the edge of the stiff mattress, staring at the ugly beige walls while my phone buzzed nonstop with coworker messages. Are the rumors true? I'm so sorry, let me know if you need anything. Girl, WTF? I threw the phone across the bed. Ryan hadn't texted, hadn't emailed, nothing. Maybe silence really is the cruelest punishment. Days bled together. I tried calling him once, just once. The line rang twice and then auto-declined. He had blocked me. The man who once kissed every freckle on my shoulder now couldn't even let my voice reach him. Humiliation clung to me like a second skin. Greg kept his promise the next day, if you consider throwing me scraps of promise. He texted me the address of a rental house he had just bought to flip. Empty, dusty, no furniture except an old mattress left by previous owners. That became my temporary home. Which was ironic, because I threw away a real home to sleep on springs and stained carpet. Money became another war. Ryan froze our joint accounts.
Cards declined.
Bank app showed balances, missing like someone had scooped reality out from under me. Of course he did. He was always 3 steps ahead. I called the bank. They said authorized owner changes. Lawyer verified. Court in progress.
Court.
The word alone made bile burn the back of my throat. That morning, a knock rattled the thin door. Paper slid through the mail slot. The divorce scheduling. My name typed in cold letters. Defendant. Defendant. Not wife. Not partner. Not even Lauren. Just someone who committed a crime. I hired a lawyer I couldn't afford, because apparently when you blow your life to pieces, the remaining fragments still demand payment. She told me the evidence against me was extensive and aggressively organized. Ryan had built a case like I was nothing but a project to dismantle. Every night, I lay awake staring at the ceiling fan that didn't work, wondering how I became the villain of my own story. I thought I was chasing happiness, but instead, I had chased humiliation straight into its jaws. Court day arrived faster than my courage. I dressed in the only professional outfit I had left, trying to look composed while my insides shook like exposed nerves. My lawyer whispered strategy. Show remorse, stay calm, don't interrupt, don't cry too early, as if emotions could be scheduled. Then Ryan walked in. He wore a navy suit I had ironed hundreds of times. He sat straight-backed, flawlessly composed. Not a single glance toward me. He could have been sitting beside a stranger. Except strangers don't look at you like ghosts. The judge began reviewing the evidence. My lawyer tried to spin a narrative. Marriage strain, emotional neglect, lapse in judgment. But every excuse soured in my own ears. Ryan's lawyer flipped open a thick file, page after page of condemning truth. Photos of me smiling in Greg's doorway. Time-stamped trips using joint funds. Even a video clip of me adjusting my lipstick in Greg's car window. I wanted to close my eyes and disappear. The judge spoke slowly, each sentence another nail sealing my coffin. Systematic infidelity. Deception. Misuse of marital assets. Breach of trust. He asked if I had anything to say. I opened my mouth, but guilt hollowed every word before it could form. What could I possibly say? That I didn't mean to ruin everything? Intent doesn't erase impact. When Ryan finally spoke, his voice was calm, expression steady. I gave her 15 years. She gave herself to someone else. There was no anger, no bitterness, just truth. And truth can cut deeper than rage. The ruling felt like watching my life evaporate. No spousal support. Minimal share of joint savings. House awarded to Ryan. Reimbursement owed for money spent during the affair. And worst of all, credibility compromised beyond repair. That line will haunt me forever. I stared at Ryan, hoping for just one glance. One flicker of softness. One sign he remembered the girl he married, not just the woman who betrayed him. But he stood, gathered his file, and walked out without looking back. That was when the tears came. Hot, uncontrollable. My lawyer placed a tissue box in front of me, but it felt useless, like putting a Band-Aid on a bullet wound. Outside, the sunlight was too bright, the air too clean for someone like me. I stepped out of the courthouse feeling smaller than a shadow. Greg didn't call, didn't text, didn't ask how court went. His silence said everything. I had traded a devoted husband for a man who couldn't even pretend to care. Days passed. Bills piled up. The brokerage quietly removed my photo from the website. Clients stopped responding. Whispers spread. I was the scandal now. The woman who blew up her own life for late-night thrills. I thought hitting bottom meant losing my marriage. Turns out, bottom is what waits after the fall. Ryan's life thrived. A coworker texted me once, just once, to say he seemed a lighter.
Free.
He even laughed more in meetings.
Laughed.
He had survived the explosion I set off. I, however, was stuck in the ashes. Greg's marriage imploded, his wife draining his accounts and taking the kids. He blamed me, said I ruined everything, as if his willing participation were irrelevant. I became the scapegoat in 2 broken homes. The rental house stayed cold, my mistakes echoing off bare walls. I'd lie awake imagining Ryan sleeping peacefully in the home we bought together, the bed we shared. Without me. Without memories of me. With air that didn't smell like guilt. One night, I drove by the old house. Lights glowing through the windows. Ryan silhouetted in the living room, sipping something, probably bourbon. Peaceful.
Whole.
I sat in my car gripping the steering wheel with shaking hands, watching the life that used to be mine. And for the first time, since this all began, I understood what real regret feels like. Not guilt. Guilt is momentary. Regret is a prison. I whispered through my tears, as if the glass could carry my apology across the street. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. He didn't hear. And he shouldn't. I destroyed everything. And now, I was finally starting to feel the destruction from the inside. But the worst part wasn't losing Ryan or the house or the life we built. The worst part was knowing he was right to leave me, because I had already left him long before he left me. 3 months after the divorce, I learned what loneliness really means. It's not silence. It's not being physically alone. It's waking up and realizing there is no one on this planet who trusts you anymore. The rental house felt colder every week. The winter air slipped through the thin walls. I kept telling myself I would look for a better place, a new start, a new job, but pain drains motivation faster than anything. I tried working again. I updated my resume, went to interviews, dressed in business suits that now felt like costumes. Every time an employer Googled me, I saw the shift in their eyes, like they were picturing the office scene, the cheating scandal. No one said it out loud. They just said, "We'll be in touch." No one ever was. My savings shrank. Rent payments began to feel like punishment cycles. Groceries became cheaper. My clothes looked older. And Greg vanished. On purpose. He texted once. I can't be part of this anymore. Part of what? The destruction he helped create? The ruin he ran toward until it started sinking? He ghosted.
Blocked. Gone.
I used to think Ryan didn't notice me. Turns out Greg noticed me even less. Nights became the worst. That's when the memories crept in. Ryan fixing the kitchen sink, Ryan laughing at some stupid movie quote, Ryan kissing the back of my hand just because he could. At the time, those things felt small. Now they feel like heaven. One evening I sat in the dark living room, the glow from a street lamp slicing through blinds. My phone vibrated, unknown number. My heart leapt before my brain could remind me that Ryan wasn't calling. It was his lawyer. The final property split papers were ready. I needed to sign to complete everything. A formality. A full stop. There was a note attached. Preferred you review this personally. You can pick it up from the house. The house. Our house.
His house now.
I stared at the message for a long time. It was the first time anything connected to Ryan had invited me back into that space, even just temporarily. I should have asked my lawyer to handle it. I should have avoided reopening wounds. But the truth? I wanted to see him.
Just once more. Even if he hated me.
Even if he couldn't look at me. The next day, I drove there. My hands trembled on the steering wheel as the driveway came into view. Same manicured lawn. Same porch. Same wind chimes I bought at a summer craft fair. Everything looked exactly as it had, just without me. I parked on the street, staring at the front door like a memory I wasn't allowed to touch anymore. I knocked. My heartbeat felt like a hammer against my ribs. After a moment, he opened the door. Ryan looked different. Not radically, no new haircut, no dramatic change. Just lighter. Peaceful. Strangely, devastatingly peaceful. He didn't greet me, didn't ask how I was. He simply stepped aside and said, "Come in," his voice flat but controlled. Walking inside felt like trespassing. My eyes mapped all the familiar places, the couch, the framed photos, the kitchen counter where I used to chop vegetables while he told me about his day. But some things had changed. There were new pillows, a different rug, a few walls painted warmer shades. Decorations I had never seen. He had been editing me out one item at a time. I stood awkwardly near the entryway, clutching my purse like a shield. Ryan disappeared into his office and returned with a folder, thick with legal documents. "You just need to sign these," he said, placing the folder on the dining table. That table once held birthday cakes, holiday dinners, inside jokes. Now it held the paperwork severing every shared memory. He handed me a pen. I sat down, flipping page after page, signing my name like I was erasing my life stroke by stroke. Halfway through, tears blurred the lines. I wiped them quickly, hoping he didn't notice. But he did. "You don't need to cry," he said, not cruelly. "Just factual." "I know," I whispered.
I'm sorry, Ryan."
His silence was heavy. "I never meant to hurt you," I said softly. "I never wanted things to go this far." He took a breath, slow and tired. "That's the thing, Lauren," he replied. "People don't mean to ruin lives. They just assume someone else will deal with the consequences." The shame in my chest flared. "You were the consequence," he finished. "And now I'm free."
Free.
The word hurt more than anything else had. I swallowed. "Do you hate me?" He looked at me, then really looked, eyes steady, not burning with rage like I expected. Just empty of love. "No," he said. "Hate means I still feel something. You took that away long before you walked out." There it was. The truth I had been running from. I nodded, finishing the signatures with shaking fingers. When I closed the folder, it felt like a coffin lid. He walked me toward the door, polite, cold, distant. When he opened it, I stepped onto the porch, my throat tight. "Ryan," I said, turning back. "You were a good husband. Better than I deserved."
He didn't respond.
He didn't need to. He closed the door. Not slammed, just gently, like he was placing the final piece of a puzzle completed without me. I stood there until the porch light flicked off. Only then did I walk away. Days turned into weeks. Legal formalities finished. Ryan moved on with his life, successfully, quietly, confidently. His career flourished. People respected him even more for how he handled everything. That stability I once took for granted? It was the foundation I threw away. I kept living in that rental, trying to survive. Trying to rebuild from rubble. Some days I managed to function. Others I curled into myself, drowning in regret. Greg tried to reach out once, months later, claiming he missed me. I blocked him. He wasn't my escape anymore. He was simply another consequence. One evening near Christmas, I drove by the old neighborhood again. Not to spy. Not to intrude. Just to remember. I parked across from the house, watching warmth glow through the windows. A tree sparkled in the living room, decorated perfectly. Ryan always had a good eye for symmetry. I wondered if someone else helped him with it. Maybe he found someone honest. Someone grateful. Someone who wouldn't destroy him for a moment of attention. I hope he did. I hope he found joy that couldn't be stolen. Sitting in that car, breathing in the cold December air, I finally accepted what I had spent months denying. I didn't lose Ryan because I made a mistake. I lost him because I never valued him while I had him. I was searching for excitement when what I needed was loyalty. I chased validation from a stranger while the man who truly loved me was right in front of me. Love isn't loud. It doesn't scream for attention. Love is silent patience, quiet devotion, small routines that make life livable. And I traded all of that for cheap, temporary thrill. So now, every morning I wake alone. Every night I sleep alone. Every breath is a reminder that I am the architect of my own downfall. People say time heals. Maybe it does. But time doesn't erase consequences. Ryan rebuilt his life on the ruins I left behind. I'm still crawling through the debris. The world didn't punish me. Ryan didn't ruin me. Greg didn't abandon me. I destroyed myself. And that is a sentence without appeal.